To my young brothers and sisters who are listening, I don't want you to get bored because I'm coming right home to you in just a minute. Whether you're 10 years old, 9 years old, 8 years old, 14 years old, I'll be talking into your heart, into your head in just a few moments. All I want you to do is just lend me your ear for the time that we will be together. I don't ask you to believe that. I have nothing to do with that. I certainly can't ask you to disbelieve. I won't ask you to do that. But all I'll ask you to do is to listen to what we have to say. My dear beloved brothers and sisters, by our not taking serious our commitment to marriage, we don't take serious the commitment to the journey of life. What are you saying, Farrakhan? I'm saying this. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, marriage is one half of faith. If marriage is one half of faith, marriage is one half of the journey to God. For the word marriage in Arabic is nikah, which means to unite. It does not mean that you are united when the vows are spoken, but it means you have made a commitment to struggle for the unity of two souls, two independent beings, two independent essences that come from one originator. But it is a struggle to unite. Anything of value presents a difficulty factor, as we have studied. That's right. And so the difficulty factor in life itself means that God had to have created us to face the difficulty, not turn our back on the difficulty, not run from the difficulty. But God has brought us into a difficult life and given us the wherewithal with his help to overcome all obstacles that lie in the pathway of our progress toward him. Marriage is a part of the journey. Why do you say that? No man knows who and what he is without marriage. And this is why the Quran does not condone being a monk. The Quran does not condone being a nun, because this is something that God has not put on you. This is something that you put on yourself. God has not instructed in neither the Bible nor the Holy Quran for a man to be a eunuch. God has not asked the Pope to take a vow that he will not touch a woman. God has not asked the Father or the Cardinal to take a vow that you will not touch a woman, even though you ache so to do and do. God has not asked the woman to take a vow not to have a man, because the very growth and development of you as a person is your struggle to overcome the difficulty factor in uniting the male with the female and the female with the male. And by any man denying himself that joy, that pleasure, and that struggle and that pain is denying themselves a part of the journey toward God himself. So Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said marriage is one half of faith. And any man that will walk away from a woman who has given him life, who has nurtured his babies for him and changed their diapers and cleaned his clothes and cooked his food, and yet after a few years he gets tired and walks away, that is a man that will walk away from God. That is a man that will walk away from his commitment to the divine being when things get rough. Don't tell me I won't do it. I'll be faithful to God. We can tell how faithful you'll be to God by how faithful you are to little things. And marriage is not a little thing, it's a big thing in the eyes of God. All praise is due to Allah. I'm so full with this message today. I pray that Allah will bless me to get it out, and you with ears to at least listen. And you that condemn and find fault with me, if you can find fault with the beauty of that which God is bringing forth from me, then I say to you, go on and attack God. For if I were an ugly man in his sight, why would he use me to bring forth that which some of you have never even thought of? Why would God use me to bring forth guidance for a nation of people that will live long after my flesh is turned to dust? I say to you, you are in danger, not I, but you are in danger who play with this that God is giving to me for you through the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I warn you in the name of Allah, leave me alone if you don't like me. Leave me alone, because God is certainly with me and will give you hell if you rise up against me. If you walk out on your commitment to marriage, which is a trial at best, oh, it starts off so beautiful, so full of love and tenderness and service one to the other. But in a little while, we get familiar. In a little while, the words turn cold. In a little while, the actions get funny because we begin to learn things about each other that we did not know before. How are you going to handle it? The Bible said that a man would go forth sowing a seed. And as he sowed the seed, some of the seeds fell on stony ground, and some fell by the wayside, and some were planted deep in fertile soil. And Jesus said, this sower that goes forth to sow is, of course, the Jesus himself, bringing truth. And the field is the hearts of men. There are some men that receive the seed with joy. And by the evil one comes and steals it from you. So many of you get into marriage and you're so happy on the day you marry. Oh, you look so pretty, the world says. Beautiful bride, wasn't she? Handsome groom, wasn't he? Everybody goes broke trying to give you gifts. And 6 months later, the gifts hardly worn out. Your marriage is worn out before the dishes break. Your marriage is worn out before the coffee percolates in the pot. Your marriage is worn out. Worn out for what? Because you never intended to make your word bond and thereby bring forth life. And so, marriage is a trial. Some get married like the sower of the seed, and by they receive it with joy, but by the cares of the world come and choke out the word, and it becomes unprofitable. Some of us get married, and at first it's very happy and joyous. There's bliss. When you see one, you see the other. When you see the other, you see the one. But by when you see one, you never see the other. And when you see the other, you never see the one. And when they come together, they look like they're in strain and in pain with each other. Yes, sir. What has happened? What has happened? The cares of the world have come up to choke out the word that you have given to one another, and it becomes unprofitable. And before you know it, there's abuse. Abuse of the woman. She abuses herself. He abuses himself and abuses her. Battered women is not a phenomenon in the world. Men have become so cold and callous, so filled with lack of understanding of life itself, that they crush their women. They cannot cope with the minds of their women. They cannot cope with her arguments. So they beat her down with their fists as though they're beating another man. Women today are battered They live in homes with men who claim to love them, but every day fisticuffs breaking out. Yes. The man beating the woman so that the woman is fearful of her life. Right. How can you live in fear in a home and produce the right kind of offspring? How can you live under that kind of tyranny and produce children who recognize what love is and what justice is and what mercy is and what tenderness is? You are producing wicked children because you live under environmental circumstances that make you able to produce a devil.